Hello and welcome to Chess Vision's video lesson on basic queen-pawn endings. One of the most frustrating parts of chess is when you have a large material advantage but fail to use it properly and end up drawing a game you should have won. Here's a common pawn ending where both sides have raced to promote a pawn, and black is the first one to win the race. By promoting his pawn first, black has a large advantage. He only has to stop white from promoting his pawn. If he can succeed in this, he can win the game. And this is a very easy maneuver to remember. First, we promote pawn to d7, and this is white's best move. If he promotes the pawn, then the game's likely a draw, and everything will be okay. And this is where most players as black start to go wrong. They start checking the king, but without a purpose in mind, just hoping that something will happen. But chess is a logical game. First, you have to solve the problem. Black must capture the white pawn with the queen, but as long as white's king is protecting the pawn, this will only result in a draw. So how should black proceed? The pawn must be captured sooner or later so that black can win, but he has to have his own king close enough to help. Because as long as the white king is protecting a pawn, black's queen can never capture it. So the first step is to force the white king to block his own pawn, allowing the black king to come closer. This is done with a simple maneuver, queen e2. Basically, you attack the king and bring the queen closer to the pawn. King f8. If king d8, this only speeds up the process, allowing the black king to advance. King g5. King f8. Queen d3. And this is the basic strategy. You attack the pawn when it's unprotected, stopping it from promoting, or you attack the king until the king is forced to block his own pawn. Queen e4, and we repeat the process. Queen e6, check. King d8. Now the king must be brought up to help the queen. Queen g8 check does nothing because the king just simply moves out of the way and threatens to promote the pawn. King g5, king c7, queen c4, e6, king e7, and the process is repeated. King f6, and queen c4 check. We repeat the process, attack the king, force the king in front, and then the final step. The king makes the last move to attack the pawn. Queen takes with check, and mate. This is a very important pattern to remember. But there are some exceptions to this rule. If white has a bishop pawn, there's a little important tactical trick to remember, especially if you're the defender. Once the person promotes and the pawn advances, the bishop pawn is only one square from promotion, and it is impossible for the player with the queen to win as long as the opposing king is close enough to the pawn. A simple trick, but an important one to remember, is after queen b5 check, king a8, queen c6 check, king b8, queen b6 check. But there's a trick in this position. White does not block his own pawn. He plays king a8. He ignores the attack on the pawn because after queen takes c7, it's a stalemate. And because white does not have to block his pawn, he can maintain the threat of promoting the pawn, and the black king never has time to advance. As a final note, there are some cases where if the black king is close enough to the pawn, the position is still won, but that is another video since the maneuver is a little more complicated. There's another exception, and that's with the rook pawn. After promotion, pawn a7, queen b5 check, king a8. And this is the trick. White just tucks his king into the corner, and black never has time to bring his king over to the pawn because the queen is trapping him. So it's a draw. Queen a6. He has to let the king out of the corner. King b8, queen b6 check, king e8, and it's a draw. There's one important tip to remember, that if white actually has one more tempo, he can lose because the queen c7. And white's only move is to push his pawn when queen c8 mates. I hope these few positions help you, and try to practice them with a friend or against a computer until you can do them easily. Thank you for watching.